Hey guys, today I am talking with the most famous person you've never heard of. Or maybe you have. His name is Ele Bardha. He is stuntman, stunt coordinator, race car driver, actor, comedian. Ele is such a neat person. He has been in over 100 movies. I don't know how many commercials he's been in. And you've seen the movies he's been in. You've loved them. You've laughed. You've cried. They've moved you. Anyway, guys, this is a great interview with an amazing man, Mr. Ele Bardha. Pull up a chair and buckle up. It's the Original Strength BodCast. You're a stuntman.
Yes.
How, first of all, what year were you born in?
1968.
Okay, so did you grow up watching a show called The Fall Guy?
Absolutely. One of my favorite shows growing up.
Me too. I've had that song running in my head all morning because I knew I was going to talk to you. So you are the unknown stuntman that made Redford such a star.
Actually, I'm not, but I'm good friends with the probably the greatest stuntman in history, Mickey Gilbert, who I had the pleasure of hiring on Robert Redford's last movie, Old Man and the Gun, a few years back. And the producers were kind enough to let me hire Mickey, who was the stunt coordinator for all of the series of The Fall Guy. So all of those stunts that you and I loved while we were kids were all coordinated, and all the second unit direction on that television show, which was basically anything that had to do with action on The Fall Guy. The script would just, and this is a story told to me by Mickey Gilbert. The scripts would be written for the actors, and anytime there was an action sequence, it would just say refer to Mickey. And Mickey then would, create the scene that fit into this script. Truck flies around the corner, hits a ice cream truck, flips over, and all that jazz. So Mickey Gilbert, from the creator, the beginning, the grand poobah of the famous Gilbert stunt family. You've got, Tim Gilbert, Lance Gilbert, Troy Gilbert, and, all their children that are now in the business. But it's just, if you're a Fall Guy person, look up Mickey Gilbert. And he is like the whole reason why we loved the Fall Guy. So yeah, to be able to work with the guy that created all the Fall Guy stunts and being a stunt guy was sort of an epic moment for me.
Now, is is that what got you into being a stuntman, or like how did you
I
get into
think
that?
yeah, I would attribute my interest in stunts having a lot to do with 70s television. The Fall Guy, the $6 Million Man, all that
Ooh.
stuff, all the toys we played with. I was a very hyper child. My parents, I was a handful for my parents, as far as everybody tells me. Always jumping off of everything, jumping off the house. I mean, I just was a bundle of energy, apparently, and my parents didn't know how to direct that. And very athletic since I was just a little kid. Just, anything they could do to expel energy, whether it was give me a bike, a skateboard, roller skates, anything. I was always building ramps in the backyard and jumping my big wheel. And I had a really big interest in jumping as a kid. Anything I could do to get air to copy what I saw on television through shows like The Fall Guy. Obviously, I didn't have a driver's license, but I could not get a driver's license quick enough. And I just, whether it was jumping my big wheel, my sister's bicycle, it didn't really matter. If I got my hands on anything with wheels, I was building a ramp and jumping it and crashing, and it came with a lot of injuries, but that's just part of the coming up and becoming a stunt guy. So it had everything to do with my influence as a stuntman.
So you've been in like over 85 movies, right?
Yeah.
Or you probably, I mean, if it's over 85, I don't even know how you keep count of that. But
I think, yeah, I mean, I don't have all the work I've ever done on IMDb. IMDb doesn't put everything on there. So, I mean, I think I'm well over 100 something now, but it doesn't.
good night.
I've been in the business for, I've been in the business for over 30 years. Sounds crazy. I'm 53. I've been doing stunts for, I can almost not remember. It's been so long. I started doing commercials. I did my first commercial when I think I was 18, and skateboarding in a eyeglasses commercial, and then it just kind of fell into my lap. The joke is I fell into stunts. I really did it. I didn't pursue it. I didn't grow up thinking that, hey, I want to be a stuntman. I just didn't know that the people I was hanging out with and everybody that knew me thought what they thought of me as being, very athletic and capable athletically, whether it was on a bicycle or a skateboard or just physically in it, doing crazy things. So stunts found me. People were like, you should do this, or I've got this guy that's doing this commercial or this movie, and do you want to do this? And I ended up just slowly through commercials initially, and then it ended up going into television and movies, and then it just created a career for me, which is just a godsend because I don't really know what I would have done. I think the movie business would have found me eventually, regardless of stunts. I was an actor before I was a stunt guy, so I was doing stand-up comedy and acting and knew I wanted to be in the business, just never thought that athleticism and stunts was going to be my key in, which it was. After doing stunts, you meet a lot of directors, producers, actors. They invite you to jump on other shows, and through stunts, the acting career that I always wanted sort of happened, but it didn't matter. I mean, I look at it, I always tell people my bank doesn't discriminate as long as I'm in the game. If I'm at the party, being at a movie, a television show, commercial, if I'm working in the industry, I'm happy. And I wear many different hats, even though stunts and stunt coordinating is the base of my, main source of my income, but being able to also get an acting role here and there gets to fulfill that thing that I've always wanted to do since I was a kid. So I'm just happy to be there doing anything. If I get to show up on set, I'm just happy to still be in the game.
That's awesome. How did so you got into doing stunts, but did you go to a school to learn how to drive and to do these things, or were you just self-taught on all of this stuff?
No, there's two types of stunt people, especially now. Back in the day, they would call, the really great stunt guys, all around guys. To be a stunt man back in the day, and again, prior to me being a stunt man, I came up learning that what stunts is you had to be good at everything. You had to ride a motorcycle, be able to drive a car well, ride a horse, fall down, obviously, and hit the ground really hard and not complain. You had to be tough as nails. And that's why most stunt people, men and women, came from the cowboy scene, the Western, people that were, horse riders and all those kind of cowboys and cowgirls that, they're just tough. I mean, to be somebody that handles a big animal like that. And a lot of the first stunt people in Hollywood were from that background. The Gilberts, you name it, they all came from that background. And so for me, a lot of stunt people today are called specialists, which is sort of frowned upon. It is for me as a stunt coordinator when people say, I have people submit to me all the time and they're like, well, I don't hit the ground. I train too hard for that, but I'm a fight guy and I don't do car work and I don't do fire work and I don't do water work. So now it's gotten into, well, like you'll see like some of the biggest movies where the lead actor will have 5 stunt people, in the credits, it'll say, stunt person for Tom Cruise, stunt person for Tom Cruise, because that one guy might be the greatest waterman in the world. And the next guy is the most incredible motorcycle rider in the world. The next guy is your, fall guy, fire guy, whatever it is. Back in the day, you had to be able to do all of that. So I feel I'm more part of the old school where I just was naturally good at, I grew up on a farm in Michigan, so I was naturally good at riding horses. I was, great at riding a bicycle, skateboards, anything that had to do with balance. It didn't matter. I had no fear of heights. I played with fire as a kid all the time. So everything I did as a child, the stupid things that I did with my friends, ended up coming into play. I did not go to a stunt school. I'm one of those stunt guys that just learned growing up as a kid and making mistakes, catching myself on fire and getting burned and going to the hospital. And then you learn how not to do it. It sounds funny, but people that actually go to stunt school, it's a bit frowned upon. And it seems kind of counterintuitive that you would think in order to be in something that's so critically important as far as danger is concerned, that you would need some sort of training. But the best stuntmen in the world, in my opinion, are all, just learned it on their own. And you learn by being present. So coming up in the business as a coordinator, I'll bring people on and know that they don't have a certain skill set, but they want to learn that skill set, and to be present and to watch it actually happening on a movie set, and me allowing them to assist in a minor role to watch what's happening, and I explain it to them. And there's a science behind everything in stunts. It's controlled chaos. So, whether we're lighting a guy on fire in a scene, which is a very dangerous thing to do, but done properly is actually incredibly safe. And if you have the right safety team, I think I've very rarely ever been super nervous doing like a fire, a burning somebody, or me getting burned. Because I know that if all the pieces of the recipe are put into place, nothing really could go wrong. So, car work's a little different, because when you're jumping a car, crashing a car, setting up for car work, there's always that percentage of things that are out of your control. And, people do get hurt, things go wrong. That's just part of being in the business. But I look at that, people getting injured, no different than when I was a kid trying to do something, that was dangerous. There's always that element of getting hurt, something going wrong, human error, me making a mistake, and me needing to go 40 miles an hour and I was going 50 miles an hour. And so, you do everything you can to make sure nothing happens. But like when we were a kid, you make all those mistakes coming up. And now with all that experience, you do your best to make sure that nobody gets hurt when you're at work.
Were your parents surprised when you became a stuntman? I'm,
I don't
I'm
think
sitting here
they
trying to
were.
fathom what Mother's Day or Father's Day must have been like in your household.
Yeah, I came from I'm Albanian, and we were a very foreign family. I mean, we didn't speak English in the house when I was a kid, and my parents came from, third world country, escaped communism. And when they came to America, their MO was just to work. So when I was growing up, just me being in the business was something that my father especially didn't understand. Wasn't a guy that went to the movies. All I remember of him as a kid is him working and being gone all day working and coming home exhausted at the end of the day. So he still doesn't fully understand what it is that I do. I know that sounds funny, but I mean, he knows what I do, and he always asks me about it, but I don't tell my parents the dangerous things that happen when I go to work. If I'm gone for, a month or whatever, and I come home and my parents ask me, what happened, or, how was work, I just tell them the basics. That was really great. I met a bunch of nice people, and I don't let them really know to worry them. They found out a couple times some things that I did and they weren't happy about it. But I think now, because of the money involved, and, when you start doing well for yourself and they realize that this is all because of stunts, they don't really mind it. I think they know that I'm smart enough to do these things and do my best to not get hurt. But I think I think they chuckle about it, knowing that what I did as a kid is what I do now in a professional manner. And they think it's pretty funny that I'm able to like make a really good living doing basically what I did as a kid, which is just doing stupid things that are really fun. But now I'm just more mature about it. So I think they accept it now and appreciate it.
It does seem like an amazing life to be able to live. Sounds very. I mean, it's like you get to be a kid your whole life.
No, without question. I mean, again, I'm 53. I feel, that stunts and the movie business in general keeps you young. You
You
just are.
look young.
Yeah, I mean, I dye my beard from time to time to try to look as young as possible. But I think it's because of working in the business, and I'm always around young, like ambitious, energetic stunt people. And that, wears off on me. And that whole energy that I've always had as a kid works very well in the film industry, creatively, and being excited about things, and that enthusiasm you have for telling stories and making, movies is just something that I've always loved. And every day you go to set is a new day. That's the greatest thing about the business, is you're always in a different location with different people doing something different. It's never redundant. And it keeps your mind working and keeps you excited and interested. So the greatest business in the world as far as I'm concerned. And then there's that element that I really don't concentrate on, but I know is there, that, you know, it's something that socially people are very enamored with. And it's, you know, because we had our like high school reunion, you know, I was voted like the most successful guy because people are shallow, and because I was in like a Super Bowl halftime Mountain Dew commercial, and they thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I mean, I didn't do well in school, but then you have those guys that like have their own law firms that are phenomenally successful, making millions of dollars, and I can't imagine what they thought, that, oh, the most successful guy was this freaking idiot, you know, from high school that didn't do well in school, that was always running around getting into trouble, sitting in the office, you know, in detention. So there's that side that I find humorous, that I'm in a business that today people are just so, you know, enthralled in celebrity, and they think it's just the greatest thing in the world. You know, to me, I'm like a construction worker. I'm just a guy that works in a business. I feel like I'm no different than a roofer or a construction guy. I go to work, I clock in, I do my job, I go home. And I think everyone outside of the business looks at it as this very, you know, star-studded, um, amazing business, and people probably give all of us that are in the business a little bit too much attention than we deserve, um, because, you know, that's just the nature of where society's at now.
How much, if any, does does fitness play into what you do?
I mean, it's everything. It's what makes your career, and it's what will break your career. There's some incredibly talented athletes out there, not just in stunts, in anything, whether it's, you know, skateboarder, next gamer, motocross guy, race car drivers. Without your physical ability, you don't have anything going for yourself. Once you lose that, once you lose that, you lose your confidence, you lose your ability to do the things that brought you to where you are. And if you don't maintain your athleticism and your physical capability, you're done. So for me, for example, um, I'm reaching an age where, you know, my body's saying, hey, you know, you might want to hang this up and find something else to do. But I'm telling my body, nah, I'm not ready yet. I'm going to grind you through the dirt as long as I want, and you're just going to do your best to keep up. I've had, you know, knee replacement surgery. I've broken my back. I've had so many injuries. Um, and those, as you get older, you know, you start to feel it when you wake up. But um, athleticism and keeping in shape and being healthy is everything. I mean, not to say that if I decided to gain 100 pounds in the next couple of months that I wouldn't get hired, because they're going to always need some overweight guy to fall down the stairs in a movie. Um, but it's not conducive to staying healthy. So if you go to work and you're in shape, odds are that when you fall down, you're not going to get hurt. I know stunt people that are just kind of winging it in their older age, and because they don't work out anymore and they don't go to the gym, and then they get that call like, hey, I need you to do this motorcycle gag where you come flying around the corner, and then, you know, a van comes out, you hit the van, you fall down, and, you know, and the guy's like, okay. And they go and they wing it and they end up in the hospital, or they end up, you know, really hurting themselves, hurting their spine, I mean, we're very fragile as human beings. And trust me, as a stunt guy, I do everything in my power to not get hurt. When I go to work, I mean, you have these new young stunt guys that, you know, don't wear pads. They think that they're being cool by not wearing elbows and knees. And they're trying to prove to, you know, us older guys that they're tough. And I always tell them, like, you're not proving anything, that you're just stupid. Put your pads on, because by putting your pads on, you're not going to get hurt. You have a less chance of getting hurt, which extends your career. You don't get paid more by being tough. And when I go to work, I put on every single pad I have that I bought since I was born. And, you know, until somebody points and says, hey, stunt guy, dude, what's that on your back? Oh, it's my pad. Well, get rid of it. You know, you look like the hunchback. And so I do what I can to stay fit, and I stay as active as possible. I mean, I'm currently racing cars. I'm always out working on the farm, and, you know, riding bikes, and I still skateboard, and I still run around. And I don't go to the gym like most people. I'm not a gym guy. I'm more like keeping up with my balance and athleticism and doing things outside, whether it's hiking, climbing, biking, wake surfing. If I'm near an ocean, I'll try and go surfing. Just the connection with Mother Nature is very important to me. So the things that I've always loved to do as a kid, have to do with things outside, and being, a gym guy has just never been who I am.
So really though, you're taking the true route to fitness the way we are designed to take it. Like you're
Yeah,
moving and living.
and I think it benefits in what I do as well, because going out and riding, let's say a mountain bike, what your body physically has to do to maintain that balance and to get itself out of trouble, and to, when you're driving a perfect line, and doing all the things that we do, and we're doing something like mountain biking, you're using the whole body. And sure, it's important to go to the gym, I guess, and strengthen muscles, but to strengthen muscles for what? To strengthen muscles to do an activity like mountain biking. So the correlation between doing an activity and then doing something like going to the gym to strengthen that activity that you do outside of the gym is the only useful point for a guy like me in going to the gym. That goes along with things that I don't enjoy, like stretching. I know that if I keep my body limber, I'm going to, greatly increase the percentage of my not getting hurt. Um, and stretching is huge in the stunt business. I would almost say that if you hate doing anything, at least just stretch, because you go to work and it's a flowing monster that you don't know what you're going to do from day to day. You might show up to do a car hit one day, and then you know they ask you to do some high fall, and you need to be ready. So being 100% from head to toe physically capable is just going to benefit you. And then there's really big shows, like if you go on a show like Transformers, where Michael Bay, you don't know what you're going to do. If you're one of the stunt performers on a Transformers movie, you know, all the stunt people tell each other, like the new guys, like, hey, put on every pad you've ever owned, because you don't know what Michael's going to ask you to do. You might do nothing. You might be the guy just walking down the sidewalk, with a briefcase as cars go by at 100 miles an hour. It's a safety position. Or you might be the guy running out in traffic and getting pegged by a van. So, because Michael places you in the moment. So it's like improv stunts,
Wow.
which has its own downside. But and we all know that when we accept a job like that, that's what we're signing up for. And I've been asked to do things on Michael Bay shows that I laugh about it now. I have so many crazy Michael Bay movie stories of where I was like, man, I'm probably going to end up in the hospital. Um, but again, that's what makes those movies fantastic. And I love Michael and everything that he does. Um, but as a stunt person, those are like the cream of the crop jobs. That's, you could go on a Michael Bay show and do 15 different crazy gags, versus going on, a smaller movie and maybe like doing one or two little things. And sure, it's stunts, but it's nothing that really gets your blood flowing. You go on one of those big shows and you're just like, well, what is in store for us today? And that's actually really exciting. And that's where, to go back to the initial question that you just answered, being physically capable, being in shape, keeping your athleticism very tight saves you when you go to those jobs. Because no matter what they ask you to do, if you're well-rounded, if you've done your training and you've kept your physical, self together, that you can go to a show like that and not worry and be confident and be excited, versus some people I see at work that I just see it in their eyes. They are scared to death. And you know it, and you see it, and they're not ready. So I don't take a job if I think I'm physically in a place. I've had moments where I had to take months off just to get myself back. Um, Turning down a lot of work is never something that any of us enjoy doing, but for the sake of extending the career and keeping yourself physically capable. I went through a time where I was getting injured and I just kept working, and I just was limping, and I'd walk in the room and do my best not to be limping. And I dragged that on for about 5 years. And then my neck went, and my shoulder went, and I had an ankle problem. And then everything compiled into, I was so physically incapable that I was going to quit the business. And I had to stop it all and turn down a ton of work and just concentrate on, going to the gym on that first day and just doing 15 minutes on the treadmill and just trying to get my body woken up and stretching and working out lightly, 3 sets of of 15, but like with a 2-pound weight just to get the shoulder back together, and then building it up to where it's stronger, and then getting all the body to where you're back and you can like call everyone and say, hey, I'm back. And stunt people understand that we're going to get injured. You know, nobody frowns upon an injured stunt person. That's the business. I mean, we're all going to go through that. And everybody at some point has to take time off to heal up and be, you know, back to where they want to be to do what we love to do.
What do you, with all of that and all the adrenaline that you experience, and the not knowing, like on a Michael Bay movie, what you're going to do from moment to moment, do you ever get stressed out? And if so, how do you mitigate it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's just, like I said before, there's things that I'm naturally good at, and there's things that are just I can do, but they're not my thing. They're not something that I regularly like. I'm not a fight guy. I'm a boxer guy. I can do bar brawls and street fights and down and dirty fights all day long. I love doing that. And, you know, it's a right hook, it's a punch, it's a headbutt, it's throwing you into garbage cans and whatever, you know, whatever it is. Messy fights, I'm fine at. This whole Marvel perfection, C-lot, you know, Taekwondo, Jiu-Jitsu thing is not something that I don't have that background. So when I get a call to do that sort of stuff, I say, hey, not for me, but hey, call these 10 guys that are my height and my skin tone, you know, because they're always looking for a type. So, but mentally, it's critical that you're there, that you are confident, or you're in big trouble. And I've been very scared on set before. I've signed up to do things when I was, you know, early on in my stunt career. I said no to nothing. That somebody could call and be like, "Hey, man, I want you to jump off this 8-story building." I'd be like, "Yes, sir. When do you need me to be there?" And I had never done anything like that. And then you'd show up, and a lot of the things that stunt people have done, they've never done before. In fact, most of the things when you go to work, you've never actually done specifically that thing, but something like it. And you utilize all of those skill sets that you have in performing and executing certain stunts that you've never done before, because we're talking about storytelling. So certain activities just are written in the script and they've never really happened before. You've never done that sort of thing. Well, it involves a bike. I know how to ride a bike. It involves falling down. Oh, I'm really good at that. It involves, you know, some fire. Okay, I know how to deal with fire. And you take all those things that you know how to do and you really concentrate on it, and you make it happen. But the fear side of it is going to be there. The things that I'm not super confident in, you know, I'll be a little insecure about, but I'm the first one to ask questions. Um, I annoy the hell out of people wanting that information. If it's something that I haven't done before, I'll call the best guy in the business and be like, hey, you know, I'm doing this thing next week and it's not something I've done before. And, you know, what do you think I should do? If I really feel that I'm going to put myself into a dangerous situation, I'll just say, hey guys, I can't do this. Call up, you know, Chris or something. So, but the fear is always there. I did a high fall. I did a film years ago where I had my wrists and my ankles were shackled together, and I had a burlap bag over my head, and I was in the back of a van, and these two big guys grabbed me, pulled me out of the van, and throw me over a bridge into icy cold river, and from, you know, over 40 feet high in the wintertime. And when I originally accepted to do the stunt, I was, you know, I was all excited about it. I'm like, jump off a bridge, no problem. I jumped off bridges as a kid, piece of cake. And when I showed up and realized what it really was, you know, hands shackled, feet shackled, tied together, bag over my head, throwing my dead body or whatever into the river, I was like, how am I going to do this? And I even told the stunt coordinator, you know, I don't know how we're going to do this. But the director wanted to physically see that action. And, you know, when you sign up for something, you basically have to do it. So I did everything I could to make it safe. I went to a university high dive training center, and I started by just, you know, because I had to go from this position, fall off the bridge and land headfirst into the river. And doing that rotation blindly was very difficult, really scary. I started doing those dives from the lower boards, then the higher boards, then the 10 meter. and then put the bag over my head and tried to do it that way. And I trained all day to get that situation handled, and then worked with the other two guys that threw me over and the cutting points and how we shot it. But I was really scared. And as I was about to do it for the first time with cameras rolling, excuse me, I looked at Dan, my stunt coordinator, and I said, "How the hell did you talk me into this? This is ridiculous." He's just like, "There's no turning back now, buddy." And I think that's why we love stunts so much, is that moment, that as scared as I was, I knew that when they yelled action, you can't be scared. You can't be thinking about being scared or you're going to get hurt. And that's the most exciting part of the business, is that you do all the work, you put in the work. But when they yell action, for me at least, everything goes blank. And I am so laser focused on executing this moment, because I'm a race car driver and I look at racing in the same way, where, there might be 500 turns in a race. And I look at each turn as its own moment. And I try to perfect that singular moment. And I don't think about the next turn until I have perfectly executed this moment. And then when that one's done, boom, it's gone. And I'm into the next moment, and I'm into the next moment. And that accumulating all those perfect moments, hopefully, wins you the race. And I feel stunts is the same way. We're all nervous. We're all working it out. We're all whatever you are. When that guy yells action, you are boom. You are just there 100%. You execute all of those years of from when you were born to now, all those abilities physically, mentally come into play. And if you aren't capable of putting everything aside and just focusing 100% on making it happen, you are going to be in big trouble. And I have thankfully been able to confidently know that every time I do a gag, perform a stunt, that's the type of person that I am. So the more crazy it is, the more focused I get. The wilder the scenario, the more. And I know this from experience. I've been on movies where there's bombs going off, fire explosions, the loudest noise, machine guns, people, bodies flying through the air, shrapnel, and you're just, while all that is going on around you, I know my part on that day as a stunt guy is to run from here to there and jump as far as I can and like make it onto that boat that's taking off. And I don't think about the bombs and the pieces of wood that are hitting me in the side of the head as I'm running, and that wasn't planned for. And you don't stop and go, "Hey man, what's up with the wood?" I have to get on that boat. And that's really exciting when and I love that part of stunts, where there's a lot of things that weren't part of the plan that happen, and you need to still get on that boat. And I look at life in that same way, is that it makes everything else in my regular life super easy. Simple tasks are simple tasks. Nothing's difficult after you've worked on crazy stunt shows, because you can get critically injured, if not killed, if you're not careful on a movie set. And those types of moments that I just described is what it's all about. And we all just can't wait for the phone to ring to get the opportunity to do that again. And again, the people that are good at it, they're the ones that work a lot. You'll see a lot of the same guys getting hired on something like, Michael Bay movie, because, you don't want to bring in people that don't have it, because they're the ones that could get hurt, and worst, get someone else hurt. A bad stunt person is the most dangerous thing in the world on a movie set. An inexperienced, scared stunt person is going to hurt more people. I'm more concerned about who that individual is going to hurt more than I am about them hurting themselves. So might not be the nicest thing, but that's really how I look at it. So we're very careful on who we hire and who we work with. And on certain stunts, you always ask, like, well, who else is going to be there? Who am I working with? And they'll tell you, like, okay, cool, we're good. We got them. Okay, we got a solid team. They might mention one guy and you're like, really? You're going to hire that guy? Okay, you did hear what happened on the last one where he forgot to push the button and all those people, and so, and you might just turn down a job because certain people are on it. I've done that. I've been like, well, who's on board? And they'll mention a couple people. I'm like, yeah, not for me. So, because there's just some people that are dangerous, and they're part of still the really, really old school way of doing things, where the old world of stunts is different than today. Back in the day, we were replaceable, and we still are to a degree. But back in the day, they would hire a bunch of guys, and they'd pick the guy that was going to do the really dangerous stunt that day. And if he got hurt on the first take, you're like, okay, get him out of there. Jimmy, get in there. And they just take the next guy, and we were disposable. And now, because of liability, because of insurance, that those days are pretty much long gone. You need to create stunts, execute stunts in a way where nobody's going to get hurt, including the stunt person. Liability is very high. It's crazy. And so, being able to, produce, envision a scenario, hire the correct people to make it all happen, hire the right stunt people, the right, riggers, and rehearse it and get it down to a science to where when they say action and the cameras are rolling, nothing goes wrong. And there's always that percentage, something could break, something could go wrong, some unforeseen thing is going to happen. But now it's not like back in the day where you could just be like, get that guy out of here, take him to the hospital. Joey, come on, you're in, buddy. Those days are gone. And thank God, because a lot of people got really, really hurt unnecessarily. And from, big old cowboys being like, oh, what, you too scared to do it, kid? And I've been on those jobs where we had some, old stunt guy that just, what are you putting your pads on? Oh, you really, should I call somebody else for this gig? And there was a pressure when I was younger in stunts, I was like, well, yeah, okay. And thankfully, that was a thing that was fading out. And the new generation of stunts is all based around safety, unfortunate scenarios, like John Bernacker's, just these things should have never happened. And all of the people, that have lost their lives on a movie set or a television show, you could say these all could have been avoided. But at the end of the day, like anything, certain things are just inherently dangerous. Stunts is dangerous. Racing cars is dangerous. Roofing, dangerous. Window cleaning on a high rise, dangerous. I mean, it kind of makes me laugh sometimes that certain people that have certain occupations and they choose to do them. A guy that's washing the windows at, the Empire State Building, that might be the most dangerous job in the world. At some point, something may fail and he might fall to his death. And but certain people take on those tasks and they take it with a smile and, they're great at it. And something goes wrong, it's very unfortunate, but there's always that possibility. You could go on a Disney cruise and, who knows? Crazy things could happen. You could get COVID, fall off the side, the boat could sink. I mean, everything's got its, driving to work, some lady could bend down to pick up her lipstick and, cut the wheel and head into your lane and kill you. So I look at existing as a danger and being alive and walking the planet Earth is very dangerous. And I'm always on my feet. I'm always ready for, when something goes wrong outside of the movie business, like car flips over, I see an accident, I immediately run to it. I'm fascinated with trying to help people in a horrible situation. I think all stunt guys are like that, and women. We tend to go towards the danger. And one is because we know we're probably the most helpful person in the situation, because at work, that's all we do is assess danger, take care of danger, organize danger, make sure it doesn't happen. It just happened like a couple of weeks ago. I was driving down the lodge in Detroit and there was a van that had flipped over on its side. And I locked him up, put on my emergencies, jumped out, slowed down traffic, ran up to the car, grabbed the guy, turned the car off. And it was this natural instinct that all stunt people sort of have. And I think that the world is a better place with more stunt people scattered around.
I would have to agree with you, especially based on that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, won't take much more of your time. What's your favorite movie that you've been in?
That I've been in?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tough one because I'm super nostalgic. I really am not a fan of modern movies. I'm old school, and because of what's happening in social media these days, and Instagram and Facebook, and everybody's famous now or thinks that they're famous, and fame today is so much different than what it was a long time ago. Clint Eastwood was a star, James Dean was a star, Elizabeth Taylor, Elvis Presley. These were these people were like enigmas. We didn't know anything about them. Now to be a celebrity, you know everything about the person. They've got their Instagram and their tweets and their religious beliefs. And back in the day, the reason why we were fascinated, in my opinion, of these people was because we didn't know. Clint Eastwood didn't do Jay Leno. There's certain people. I had an acting teacher years ago, Janet Elhante, that said celebrity, the power of celebrity is in what they don't know about the person. And because you're so fascinated about that, you only knew them from their characters in the movies. Marlon Brando's greatest example. I mean, here we just knew him as Marlon Brando. Any kid watching this be like, who the hell is Marlon Brando? Okay, well, I don't know what to give an example to, but people, it was about being less was more. The less you expressed and showed the public about yourself, the more famous you were, because you were a mystery, and mystery is fascinating to us. So now it's flipped over where there's so much going on. So back to your question is what was my favorite movie or thing is, it was the movies where I was working with somebody from the past that was a really big star. And that would easily be when I did Old Man and the Gun with Robert Redford and got to work with Mickey Gilbert, who, to bookend this interview possibly, is Mickey Gilbert was the stunt coordinator and creator of all the stunts in The Fall Guy, amongst many other really famous television shows. And Mickey Gilbert was Robert Redford's stunt double through Redford's entire career,
Oh,
from
wow.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Robert Redford had a stunt double, didn't like him, and said, hey, there's this guy I went to high school with. His name's Mickey Gilbert. He's a cowboy. He's like a barrel racer. I want him. Get him. And they called up Mickey. And next thing you know, Mickey Gilbert, regular old cowboy, not stuntman at the time, came, saw Robert, and became Robert Redford's lifetime stunt double. It's an amazing story. They should do a movie about it. And so you've got, people like Robert Redford. And when I did Old Man and the Gun, to walk on a movie set, and it was a period piece that took place, in the 70s, and to be on a set with actors wearing that wardrobe, to the simplicity of, the beauty of the art department recreating that scene, and the telephones and the phone booths and the lighting. And then all of a sudden, Robert Redford, the real Robert Redford, not like, a Jonas brother or a Kardashian or some, BS like that from today that everyone's like enamored with. These people, no offense, but celebrity back then was a monster. Now it's like whatever. But to be on a movie set and to see the Robert Redford and Sissy Spacek walk onto a set in front of a film camera, thank God on that movie, David, Lowery used real film cameras. The energy on that movie for me was something I'll never, ever forget. I felt like I was part of something super special. And to have Mickey Gilbert there, it just was all encompassing for me as a person in the business, where I was saying in my head, this is the greatest moment of my career. Nothing was going to beat this, because it was how I felt inside. It was an incredible sensation for me personally. I'm the guy, I edited a movie, I produced a film years ago called Cash Only, shameless plug, but I was trying to expand, outside of stunts, and I decided to produce a film. And I was fortunate enough to get some editing time at Fox in LA. So I flew to Los Angeles, and on the weekend when they were closed, in essence, it was a Sunday, I went into the editing room of Fox on Pico, and I took some time and I walked around the sound stages where some of the most famous movies and television shows in history were shot. And on the sound stages, they have placards that have all of the shows that were shot in this particular stage, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and all those shows that we grew up watching. And, Gone with the Wind or whatever it was. And I'm the kind of guy that I'm like breathless at those moments. I couldn't get enough of it. The magic of old Hollywood for me is still magic. And it's what I love about the business. I mean, I can't even describe or express how much that nostalgia means to me. And most of that is gone on today's movie sets. When you're on a movie like Transformers, it just doesn't exist. It's new movie making, it's digital cameras, it's a different way of doing it. Back in the day, when I, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, when Tarantino did that movie just like, oh my God, it just tugged on every nostalgic chord you could imagine. And I know Tarantino did that deliberately, and he succeeded, incredibly, to give people like me that sensation that we all love so much. I think everyone, whether they realize it or not, loves all of that stuff. And so Old Man and the Gun for me was it. I mean, I've been on movies with really big old school stars. I've met Clint Eastwood. Just to be near Clint Eastwood, let alone going and playing softball with him one day and hanging out and eating a sandwich. And I was so nervous. Hey, do you mind if I get a photo with you? Because it wasn't just taking a photo with Clint Eastwood. It was like taking a photo with Clint Eastwood. It's something that was meant so much to me. All those old movies that he did are some of my favorite films. So any movie that I've ever been on and been lucky enough to be on, where somebody of that stature, that old Hollywood stardom, is a part of it, those are my favorite movies. And I will openly say, any of this new stuff with all these new stars, I literally walk right by them. Could care less. I mean, not in a disrespectful way. I just don't see new stars as anything that excites me. I walk onto a soundstage or a movie set and I see like 4 or 5 of today's young stars that all these kids would lose their minds if they were around. And I'm like, hey, you guys know where the bathroom is? I don't care. I'm going to do work. Like I said, I'm going to do drywall. I'm going to put some carpet in. That's how I look at my job. But so the nostalgic shows with real celebrity, man, just pulling on all my heartstrings. I love that stuff.
I'm with you. If Clint Eastwood or Redford do a movie, I'll go see it. Like
Oh
there's
yeah,
just something about their
I'm
caliber and
going
what
to
they
see it.
produce.
Without a doubt. There's just that stuff I wish there was more of it. They have that new deep fake stuff, where I don't know if you've seen this. I don't know if it's new, but where they're taking these old photos, Abe Lincoln, Elvis Presley, and they're bringing them to life, where the technology, the person like looks around and looks at the camera. And actually, it was my father's birthday last night, and he turned 90, and I took photos of his mother and his father, my grandparents. I never met my grandfather, and I said, Dad, I want to show you something. And I had my brother film it, and I showed him his father that died when he was 10, 11 years old. And to see the emotion going through my father watching his father moving, that same photo is hanging in his house, but to see him actually physically moving just blew his mind. And again, it's that nostalgic thing that we all have. It's just like, it's so intense. And there's couldn't be enough of it, and I hope that there's more of it and it never dies, because that stuff is everything.
That is a good place to say thank you. Ely, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your time.
No, I appreciate it. This was fun, and good luck to everything that you do, and talk to you soon. And if you ever want somebody to talk your ear off about what it's like in the film industry, give me a buzz.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great weekend.